She was loved by everyone who knew her. A devoted mother, a kind friend, a woman who made her mark through quiet compassion. But on a cold November night in 2018, everything changed. A car crash on Burnaby's Barnet Highway. A woman found lifeless in a ditch. A man unconscious behind the wheel. Passers-by, it looked like a tragic accident. But the truth, what really happened inside that car, was darker than anyone could have imagined. For years, Nicole Porciello, also known as Nicole Hasselman, had built a peaceful life. She was gentle, caring, selfless. But behind the calm exterior, shadows were forming. And when the truth surfaced, the city of Burnaby would be left asking, how could something so brutal happen to someone so kind? In this story, we retrace the final hours of Nicole's life, the clues that unraveled a killer's plan, and the painful fight for justice that followed. Nicole Porciello was more than a name in a headline. She was a daughter, a friend, a loving mother to her 10-year-old son. Born and raised in British Columbia, she grew up surrounded by family and the values of kindness, humility, and hard work. As a child, Nicole had a gentle soul. She was the kind of person who stood up for others, even when it cost her. Those who knew her said she could calm a storm with just her presence. In adulthood, Nicole devoted herself to helping people. She became an education assistant at Templeton Secondary School in Vancouver, supporting students with special needs. Her co-workers described her as patient, compassionate, and always willing to go the extra mile. She was the one who stayed late to listen, who noticed when someone was struggling. Outside of work, she was a devoted mom. Her world revolved around her son. She loved cooking, small family trips, and the comfort of her quiet routines. To those close to her, she radiated warmth and steadiness. But Nicole also faced challenges. She had endured heartbreak and carried silent worries, especially in her personal relationships. Still, she held on to hope, believing in forgiveness, in better days, in peace. No one could have imagined that the love she offered so freely would one day be met with unimaginable violence. November 16, 2018. Friday like any other. Nicole began her day the same way she always did, getting her son ready for school, making breakfast, and heading to work. Templeton Secondary, the day moved along normally. She greeted students, assisted teachers, and offered smiles in the hallway. Nothing seemed unusual. Co-workers remember her talking about weekend plans, maybe grocery shopping, maybe a movie night with her boy. But that evening, Nicole's path would cross once again with her on-again, off-again partner, Jan Popel. The two had been involved for years, a relationship described as complicated, sometimes loving, sometimes turbulent. They met up that night, traveling together in a rental car. Nobody knows exactly what their final conversation was. Some reports suggest that tension had been brewing, jealousy, frustration, emotional strain. What is known is that, sometime during that drive, the atmosphere shifted from uneasy to deadly. Inside the confined space of the vehicle, an argument broke out. The words turned sharp. And then came the violence. Later, investigators would reveal the horrifying truth. Nicole had been stabbed 47 times. After the attack, Popel recorded a video. Nicole visible, gravely injured, still alive in the background. He then called his brother twice, left the car at his home, and returned later to stage the scene. Finally, he drove the vehicle into a light pole on the Barnet Highway. To outsiders, it looked like a tragic collision. But the real story, what happened inside that car, was already soaked in blood. Early the next morning, friends and family grew concerned. Nicole wasn't answering texts. She hadn't shown up where she was expected. Calls went to voicemail. By sunrise, panic set in. Loved ones reported her missing. Around that same time, emergency responders were dispatched to a crash along Burnaby's Barnet Highway. A car had slammed into a light pole. The driver, Jan Popel, was trapped and unconscious. Fire crews pried open the wreckage to pull him out. Then came the chilling discovery. A few meters away, down a steep embankment, officers found a woman's body, Nicole's. She had suffered catastrophic injuries. It was immediately clear this was no ordinary crash. The crime scene was secured. Yellow tape, floodlights, investigators combing the area inch by inch. Inside the vehicle, blood covered the interior. Evidence markers dotted the seats and dashboard. Forensic teams documented every stain, every imprint, every sign of a struggle. It took only hours for police to realize Nicole's injuries were not from a collision, they were from a knife. Nearly 50 stab wounds told the true story. By that evening, Burnaby's quiet calm was shattered. The woman who had dedicated her life to helping others had become the center of a brutal murder investigation. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team, IHIT, took over the case immediately. Their task: reconstruct every minute leading up to Nicole's death. Autopsy and forensics. The autopsy confirmed the unimaginable: 47 stab wounds. The pattern showed both defensive and fatal injuries. Nicole had fought back. The weapon, a knife consistent with those found near the scene, left deep punctures, suggesting controlled, deliberate strikes. Inside the vehicle, investigators found blood spatter analysis indicating movement during the attack. Blood on the driver's seat, the console, even the ceiling. DNA samples from both Nicole and Popel were found on the weapon. Crash reconstruction. Crash investigators noted inconsistencies. The airbag deployment and skid patterns didn't match an accidental impact. There was no sign of evasive action. The crash had been staged. Digital footprints. Detectives retrieved text messages, phone calls, and GPS data. They found that, after stabbing Nicole, Popel made 2 phone calls to his brother. Then he filmed a video of Nicole still breathing, before leaving the car and returning hours later to crash it. These actions, cold, methodical, painted a picture not of panic, but of concealment. Witnesses and surveillance. Neighbors and motorists recalled seeing a similar car earlier that night, moving erratically. Surveillance footage placed the vehicle near where Nicole was last seen alive. Together, these clues formed a chilling timeline: the meeting, the assault, the staging, and the crash. Piece by piece, the evidence cornered one man. Every trace led back to him, Jan Popel. From the beginning, suspicion fell on Popel. He was the last person to see Nicole alive. Their history of tension, combined with his presence at the crash site, made him the prime suspect. In the interrogation room, Popel at first insisted it was an accident, that he'd lost control of the vehicle. But investigators had already built their case. They confronted him with the autopsy findings, the staged crash data, the phone logs, and, most damning of all, the video he recorded after the stabbing. That video broke any illusion of innocence. It showed calmness, calculation, a man aware of what he had done. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Popel eventually pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. For investigators, it was not victory. It was closure, hard-won but hollow, because no sentence could undo the horror of that night, or the loss felt by Nicole's family. In March 2021, in a British Columbia courtroom, justice was finally served. The judge called Popel's actions callous, cruel, and self-absorbed. He was sentenced to life in prison with no eligibility for parole for 15 years. Nicole's family stood in silent grief. Her father's voice cracked as he told reporters, "He didn't just kill my daughter. He killed my entire family." There were tears, embraces, and the heavy realization that justice, while necessary, could never bring Nicole home. Nicole's death shook her community to its core. Her friends organized memorials. Fellow educators honored her with moments of silence. And her family turned their grief into advocacy, speaking out about the warning signs of intimate partner violence. Nicole is remembered not for how she died, but for how she lived, with kindness, patience, and love. If you found this story meaningful, please like and subscribe for more true crime stories told with respect and truth. And remember, if you or someone you know feels unsafe, reach out. Help is closer than you think. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and take care of each other.